what's the name, on another platform. But this is definitely a serious chapter, family. This is called Inconstancy. See, I wanted to do it in a way. I guess this might be on my page. I don't know. If somebody on my Facebook page and y'all can see me live, let me know. Just raise your hand. That way I can feel confident that people are going to get this message, because this message right here is the message that people need to hear as it relates to all of the things that I talk about. Every single thing that I talk about is relative to these chapters, these foes. Inconstancy. I'm going to go. Inconstancy is one of these foes. Instability of man is one of these foes. Misery. These foes here. Instability of man. Inconstancy. Weakness. Insufficiency of knowledge. Misery. Those are the 5 foes in this Quran right here that we should be paying attention to. Because these 5 foes in the Quran is those things that get us caught up. And I'm saying it get us caught up on a level where it's personal, but even on a group, from a group perspective, we get caught up. The 5 foes, we get caught up. And I'm going to tell you something. This foe right here, my apology. Inconstancy. This foe right here is serious. This foe right here relates to everything that I talk about as I talk about the Supreme Grand Sheikh and the Supreme Grand Council. If anybody know anything about inconstancy, inconstancy means that you're changeable. But not only are you changeable, because we always should change for the good, but you're changeable. You're wavering, but you're changing from a predetermined course. Look up inconstancy. It's changing from a predetermined course. So if we call ourselves wise, we call ourselves intelligent, then if we set a predetermined course, we should not change. Unless we have some information that supersedes the information that determine the predetermined course, then maybe we should change. Think about that for a minute. The only time that we should change is when we find some information that supersedes the information of the predetermined course. If we don't find the information to supersede the information that help us to establish the predetermined course, and we change, we inconstant. That's the bottom line. We inconstant. Now, with that being said, when we look at the Moorish Science Temple of America, if you will, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali gave us a predetermined course. Look at your neighbor and say predetermined course. He gave us a predetermined course. And in giving us a predetermined course, unless we find something that supersedes that, we do what? Stick to the predetermined course. So if anybody changed something, it's because what? They believe that they found something that supersedes what? The predetermined course. Walk with me, family. Let's call a spade a spade. Inconstancy means that one is unable to stick to a predetermined course. Inconstancy is connected to weakness. You weak. You want to try to take the shortcut. You want to take the short bus to the shortcut. You're never going to get to your destination. You're going to never get to your destination. And that's the issue when we start talking about the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's the issue. My fight is about getting off the short bus, because there ain't no shortcut to liberation in paradise. Ain't no side street. Ain't no side road. Ain't no let me cut through this alley and let me get to liberation. It's a predetermined course laid out by our prophet Noble Drew Ali. And so when we look at the divine constitution and bylaws, the predetermined course in the divine constitution and bylaws is clear. The Grand Sheikh and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is in power to make laws and enforce laws. Stop right there. That's a predetermined course. That predetermined course must be lived out in order to get to the destination. Anybody changes that, they feel as though that they have found or arrived on something that was greater than that. Although they read it every week, but they do something else. Let's call a spade a spade. We got to stop playing with this thing. When one thinks that the Supreme Grand Sheikh is the head of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and they don't read the divine constitution and bylaws, when Act 1 says the Grand Sheikh and the chairman, and then in one of the laws, somewhere around there, it says you must preserve these holy and divine laws. The moment you don't preserve these holy and divine laws, you believe that you have a more profound way to get to the destination that was predetermined by the prophet. That's called inconstancy. That's connected to weakness. But now let's get into the chapter. Y'all see how I did that? Now watch the chapter, right? The chapter is going to show you the weakling. That's what it is. The chapter is going to show you the weakling. We're going to look at the weakling right now. See, it doesn't start when a person put on this fez. It doesn't start when a person think he has arrived to some knowledge. That's not when the weaklings start. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us nature urges thee to inconstancy. And when we look at the definition of nature, we're talking about the physical phenomenon of this experience. Let's not think that we in ancient Egypt talking about nature and nurture is the same thing. It is the same thing, but in this context, it's from a Western English context of what nature is in the English language. And it is, and get your dictionary, it is an expression of the physical phenomenon. And so when it says nature urges thee to inconstancy, this physical experience urges you to go left. It urges you to find out what's over there. It says, listen to it now. Listen to it now. Oh, we teaching tonight. Nature urges thee to inconstancy. O man, man and woman interchangeable. Therefore, guard thyself at all times against it. Guard thyself at all times. You can't take a break off this. You can't take a time out. Time out. Sit in Tracy Page L. Let me sit on the bench. Nah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, this nature, this physical phenomenon is always on your heels. He said, guard thyself. How do you guard thyself? Well, you know, the Jehovah's Witness, one of my favorite things I like to say, they got their book called The Watchtower. You got to be on the watchtower with this nature. He said, guard thyself at all times. I mean, that means even in your dreams, you got to say, oh, I shouldn't be dreaming about that. Wake up, boy. Wake up, girl. You wake on now. That's right, I'm trying to tell you. You got God at all times. It says, nature urges thee to inconstancy. Oh, man, therefore, guard thyself at all times against it. And then the prophet Obadiah Ali drops one on you. He says, thou art from the womb of thy mother, various and waverly. And we know the womb of the woman is one of the most sensitive places in the area of the body. And you are from that sensitive place from the physical perspective. It's from the sensitive place. If I'm wrong, I don't know. I mean, this ain't a sexual conversation. But we know that the womb is one of the most sensitive places on the woman's body. Listen to what the prophet said. Boy, this is science. He said, thou art from the womb of thy mother, various and wavering. From the loins of thy father, and any brother that's a brother in here know that your loins is one of the most sensitive places on your body. Talk to him. He said, as Tracy Page said that the grass sheik said, talk to him, Prophet Obadiah Ali. From the loins of thy father, thy inherited thy instability. That is another sensitive place of the human being, of the male persuasion. And then the prophet come on and say, now, you are from these sensitive areas from the physical perspective. How shall thou be firm? How you going to be firm? This is an enigma to get you to think. How you going to be firm? You just came into this world physically from the most sensitive places on the human being or the human body. And you are inheriting that sensitivity to the physical world. How you going to be firm? See, when you understand from a biological point of view, what the prophetess Obadiah Ali is talking about biology right now. That you are carrying with you inconstancy by your entrance into this realm. He said, well, how shall thou be firm? So the question is, if you come into this realm and you already inherit inconstancy that's connected to frailty, which only means being weak, how you going to be firm? Question mark. That's the enigma we should be thinking about. How can I be firm? Because I'm coming in with this demonstration. He says, those who gave thee a body furnished it with weakness. That's the senses. That's the wavering. That's the inheriting the instability. Those who gave thee a body, we call those, they let us, the Elohim, the seven created spirits that created everything that was, evermore, and evermore to be. Come on, man. Prophet Obadiah Ali ain't playing with y'all. It's that time, family. Ain't nobody got this sign, so it's up to you to be the goddess of the nation, Moorish America, but you got to get right. You got to look at this thing for what it is. It says, those who gave thee a body furnished it with weakness, but he who gave thee a soul armed it with resolution. The he only represents the masculine, because it said guard. He represents the masculine position or principle of being able to defend yourself. So he, the masculine principle, within man and woman, arm thee. Let me get my arms. Many people don't know the functionality of the soul, so they can't be armed. They can't protect themselves. If somebody going to run in your house, you want to go grab my arm, my firearm. Come on, talk to him. If you want to protect yourself from an intruder, you grab your firearm. If you want to protect yourself and defend yourself, you bust your firearm. So in this, it says, but he who gave thee a soul armed thee with revolution. You are already armed. You got the greatest defense mechanism in the universe, but you don't know it. You don't know what it is. You don't know how to function the soul to defend yourself against yourself. This ain't gonna teach you that. I love this book. I have it as the revealed word of God. But that ain't what this for. This ain't gonna teach you this. Not this. This ain't gonna teach you this. I love this book too. No matter how much they put their fingers up in it. Because it's still a lot of wisdom in it. But this here, watch, I'm gonna show you in a second. This gonna tell you how to navigate through this world. And if you follow the instruction, the predetermined course, you're going to be all right. He said, but he who gave thee a soul armed it with resolution, employ it, and thou art wise. Employ it. What do that mean? Green L. That means put it to work. Put it to work. Put the soul to work. Make it work for you. To do what? To guard you against weakness. Because once you become weak, you become inconstant and you start being all over the place and making up some stuff. And your life becomes a whirlwind. And if you do it as a group, the group becomes a whirlwind. Listen to the prophet, family. This that science here. This that Nas ether. This that ether right here. He said, employ it and thou art wise. Employ it, thou art wise. Be wise and thou art happy. Most people don't even know what real happiness is. They don't. Most people get so caught up in their lives that they don't know what happiness is. You cannot truly be happy from what true happiness is if you don't know how to guard thyself against thyself by employing the soul. There's no thing outside of you that can guard you against something that you have inherited. Various and wavering. Nothing. You go on all you want. You need to employ what he has given you. No one outside of you will allow you to have peace, will allow you to reach the state of balance, will allow you to feel joy. The only thing that will be instrumental, you have to employ the soul resolution part. That's it. That's what this journey is all about. I don't care if you're an Eskimo. I don't care if you are in south of France. I don't care if you are European and Asiatic. This applies universally. This applies universally. The function of the soul is straight across the board, universally demonstrated in human beings. Prophet Noble Drew Ali giving us the highest science. This is the highest science for you to elevate into your God self. Listen to what he said. Let him do it well. Beware how he boasted of it. For rarely it is of his own will. When you do well, who will is it? It said rarely. It didn't say 100 out of 100. It says rarely is it of his own will. So if it's 99% the will of Allah and 1% you, we want to take that 1% and make it all of us and become one with the will of Allah. So when we do well, it's intentional and predetermined. Remember, inconstancy is changeable. We want to chart a predetermined course that's built upon the highest principles known to man. Illustrated by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It says, it is not the event of impulse from without, born of uncertainty, and forced by accident, dependent on someone else. To thee and to accident is due praise. Here's one of the great statements of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Beware of irresolution in the intent of thy action. Remember what we said, family. If you're not sticking to a predetermined course, the intent of your actions could never be just. Everything that you do as a God man, a God woman, claiming to be a Moorish American or Moorish American Muslim, it has to be predetermined by you. You must see the beginning, the middle, and the end of a situation to the best of your ability. And if you can't do that, then you work towards evolving your mind to get there with all situations. Well, we can't control everything. No, you have a predetermined. Along the way, you might have to make some adjustments so you can fit on the road, right? But when you're following a divine prophet, we just got to stick to the script. It said, beware of irresolution in the intent of thy actions. Beware of instability in the execution. When we say we're going to do something, we should look at when we start double guessing ourselves. If we have set a predetermined course to be successful, if we have set a predetermined course to develop our God self, if we have set a predetermined course to develop this nation, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, beware of instability in the execution. Stop double guessing yourself. This is why people change the divine constitution and bylaw. They double guess the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. They want to execute this, then they say, hold up. He didn't mean Moorish Science Temple of America. He meant Moorish American government. He didn't mean Grand Sheik and Chairman. He meant Grand Sheik and Chairman, but I can call myself Grand Sheik and Moderator. Supreme Grand Advisor. I can do that. When they executing the philosophy of Moorish science, instability kick in the execution, and they start changing. This chapter serious right here. This chapter serious right here. In honor to Mazouk Razi El, who always give a strong honor to Brother Emiliel, because this shows Emiliel was not inconstant. He stayed the course. He stayed the course. Against all odds, Emiliel stayed the course. Whether people like him, whether people wanted to leave, he gonna stay the course. That's where I'm at with it. I'm gonna stay the course with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I know this thing real. And as real as the air I'm breathing. And if you hear what I'm saying, this here can change your life. But the life that we're talking about changing is going into your God self. I'm not trying to get everybody to, I don't believe everybody gonna put on the fez. My head's sweating now. Y'all can't handle this heat. Everybody can't handle this heat. This tassel swinging around the head, hitting you in the eye. I know y'all can't handle that. But you can go and get this medicine right here though. It'll fix you. You can go and get that. I know y'all can't handle that. This thing get hot sometimes. They got air holes, but it get hot. You can't handle that. I mean, y'all got some other stuff going on. But this here, let me bring it on. Oh, I got a little bit more time. Let me bring it with you. Let me bring it with you, family. Y'all all right? Are y'all feeling this? This is something serious. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and I'm gonna try to breeze through this so I can get to some of the other part about the resolute person. But Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, the inconstant feel if he change, but know not why. The inconstant person. So listen, family, when you are in your daily travels, when you are with your job and with your family and with your friends and with these Moors, it says the inconstant feeleth he change and they know not why. Ask some people why they do what they do, and you wouldn't see them right in this chapter. They give you a whole bunch of stuff. Well, such and such told me. Well, my old grand sheik told me. Mama said if you spit on your pee, you don't get a star in your eye. Don't cut the pole. If you pee outdoors, you got to spit on your pee. That's why I do it. You really don't know why you do that, right? It sounds good, but is that reasonable to you? You see? So you just talk some stuff. I get it. Okay. But that's why you do it? Okay. But when you look at the essence of what somebody say, you'll see they don't know why they do stuff. Because somebody said so. And if man does what somebody say, a block of wood can do the same. They don't know really why. So it said the inconstant feeleth that he changed and know not why. He seeth that he escapeth from himself and perceiveth not how. Most people don't need know how to get away from the anxious self, from the agitated self, from the misaligned self. They don't have no pathway to get away from their own self that drags them down. That's what this is for. Find the solution with the universal science that when you are being weighed down, you are being anchored down by circumstances, because no one can anchor you down except you, because you have embraced some circumstances and now you just going with the flow of the vibration of that heavy anchor. But the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America teaches that establish to thyself principles of action, then see thou ever act according to them. That's verse 9. You have to, in your life, say, if this happened, I'm doing this. That's a predetermined course. Inconstancy is unable to stick to a predetermined course. If this happened, I'm do this. If you're in a relationship and you say, if this happened, I'm going to do this, stick to it. Stick to it. If you are dealing with something at your job and you say, I don't mean to throw him out there, let me put this down here. T-Bay was telling me, having a conversation about his job. He said, no, it didn't go this way, so I went that way. It ain't go this way, I went that way. That's establishing to thyself principles of action. And when you establish in yourself a principle of action, you establish it from a predetermined concept, because you have already seen what could happen, what may happen, and how you're going to respond to it. That's a God degree. That's a God man, God woman degree there. The problem is that when we establish into ourselves principles of action, you know what? We are instability or unstable in the execution when it's time. If this happened, I'm going to do this. It didn't happen, we're like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't. But the universe got you, because ain't no right way to do wrong. Ain't no right way to do wrong. So if you establish into thyself principle of action drawn from right or righteousness, it can't go wrong. Go with it, and I will guarantee you on the other side, it's better than what you were facing before. And if it ain't better, it will get better, because that before wasn't good at all, or you wouldn't have executed your decision that was predetermined. It says, suspect not evil of anyone until thou see it. When thou see it, forget it not. Who has been an enemy can never be a friend, for man mendeth not his faults. Listen to me, fam. This has been a controversial statement because everybody wants to be Christianized in the Moorish Science Temple of America. They want to love their enemies and all of that. And you can love them. But the way that you love your enemies is not the same expression that you love your friends. It's not the same expression that you love your brothers. You can love your enemies now. But it says, who shall be an enemy cannot be a friend, for man mendeth not his faults. Let me give you a brief expression. I used to try to break this down to people all the time. Who shall be an enemy could not be a friend, because man mendeth not his fault. If I break this right here, this plastic knife right here, no matter what I do to put this together, it's not the same when it was whole. We can cover it up all we want. We can put super glue, gorilla glue, and we can polish it up. But this is not the same knife no more. Every time we use this knife, we're going to be thinking that it could just fall right apart because it's been compromised. So every time we use it, no matter if we got the best gorilla glue on the market, every time you cut something with this knife, you're going to remember that it was broken. Because you can't mend this. That's only an illusion. But now, can you still use it? Of course you can. Of course you can. Is it the same? Does it have the same strength? Absolutely not. It don't have the same strength no more. And that's what happened when one's become your enemy and you determine that they're your enemy. It don't have the same strength before they were your enemy. Because man mendeth not his fault. Here's the science. So right after that, Prophet Overdrive, y'all get me on that? And you got to remember, it's all about awareness. It's all about awareness, though. Just because one is your enemy don't mean that you have to seek retribution. Because the biggest enemy is you. The greatest enemy is you. Because anybody into your circle and becomes an enemy, it's because you didn't do what verse 1 say. Guard thyself all times. You wasn't on your post. You didn't understand the psychology of what just entered into your circle. You didn't understand that the person gave off the energy and all the signs to begin with. Or you overlooked it. Or you're so out of touch with yourself, you can't even feel the vibration of other people around you that are energy beings. Flesh is an illusion. You should feel the energy, like when you walk in your house and you like, man, somebody was in here. Hey, baby. I hope that's her upstairs. Honey, you in there? Or like Sister Robinson said, Islam. Somebody up in here. You should feel that energy. You should feel that presence of someone with intent to do harm mentally, emotionally, physically, or whatever. But you shouldn't play with that thing and confuse it with people's shortcomings either. Some people fall short and they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. They're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. Some of it is not intentional. And so being a wise Moorish American Muslim, it's up to you to predetermine who is intentional and who is on their journey that's just not there yet. but it offended you. They're just not there yet. Man, this is the God signs here. This is the God signs here. So it says, whosoever hath been an enemy could not be a friend, because man meaneth not his fault. Here we go. How should his action be right who have no rule over his life? Whenever you establish friendships, the first thing you should say is, what governs this person's life? What governs this person's life? If you go out to the club and you sit down with a sister and you ask her, so what do you do for a living? You know, I'm a stripper. You got something to measure now. Not to pass condemnation, but to measure. If you go that way, you know what guides this person's life. To a degree. If you go somewhere and somebody starts saying, well, you know, sometimes on the weekend, I dress up like a clown and I juggle balls for little children. Hold up. This person like children. That may be one you can talk to. What else you do? Oh, I work for such and such, and my church is da-da-da. Okay, this person. And now you know that they have some sort of rule over their life. And if you're familiar with church, if you're familiar with the patience that it takes to work with children, that might be an all right person right there. It take patience, man. I go to a lean school, it's a bunch of 2 years old, and all of them talk perfect English. They're 2 years old, man. I'm trying to tell you, this school is amazing, man. I'm telling you, they all speak perfect English and all got something to say. I'm trying to tell you, it's amazing, man. The Y22 Academy, goodness gracious, 2 years old, serious, man. But the point that I'm making is that I tell the owner all the time, I said, if I had the money to put this all around the United States, I would. But I know I cannot duplicate love. It's love in this place. But the point that I'm making is, you meet somebody and they say, I juggle for children, somebody might laugh. But the point that I'm making is that this same person has a certain amount of patience. They got some type of rule that helped them establish patience. So the Prophet Ali says, how should his action be right who have no rule of his life over his life? Man, I don't be messing with that temple stuff. You go to church? Man, I don't mess with no Christians. What you believe? Man, I just believe in God. What that mean? So anything from that, you can expect to see what you see. He don't got no rule over his life. He could even say, look, I follow nature. I balance myself with nature. I got you. So if you balance yourself with nature, you know that the masculine and the feminine, they go hand in hand together. So you ain't going to be with the masculine and the masculine. I can measure that by something. You know, the rainbow, I can measure that. You ain't going to be with the rainbow clique. We ain't going to have no confusion, right? Because you say you're going with nature. All right, thank you. We're not talking about some of the practices of nature when nature is out of balance. We're talking about the principle of the thing, the masculine and the feminine. Okay, I can measure you by. How can their action be right who have no rule over their life? Man, you should be able to choose the best of friends with this here. I wish I would have known this when I was 16. And I knew how to apply it. Man, I would have been with Moorish American geniuses instead of thugs and fools. Getting on my mama nerve. Police knocking on the door all the time. But we here now. I'm going to wrap it up in a second. But listen to this. How should his action be right who have no rule of his life? Nothing can be just that doesn't proceed from reason. Why do you do such a thing? What is your predetermined course? Nothing that you do makes sense if you don't have a reason behind it. Nothing that you do. If you don't have a reason behind it, nothing that you do makes sense. You can't tell me nothing. So as we move through this life, everything we should do should have a reason and a purpose behind it from a predetermined source or predetermined concept. As I begin to wrap it up, verse 20 goes down, fam. This is the Add That book. Everybody want the Add That book? This is the Add That book. But you got to have your mind right to receive it. As Joel Osteen said, did y'all receive that? You can't receive it if your mind ain't right. Did you receive that over there? I want y'all to pray with me. What Joel Osteen said. Y'all don't watch Joel Osteen. I watch all this stuff because I need to know what I'm up against. You know what I mean? What they putting in my people, man. Y'all received that? Or Joyce Myers? I know you received it over there, didn't you? Yeah. Y'all don't know these people. Anyway, I know these people. I need to know who I'm dealing with. Y'all know Joyce Myers and not these people. They don't know these people, Tracy. You know Tracy, do you know him? Shake your head. You don't know Joe? You don't know Joe? Remember I see now, you know Joe? Yeah, that's right. Joe be giving us some good catchphrases, though. I ain't gonna front. He be giving us some good catchphrases. But with that being said, family, as I wrap it up, Prophet Noble Ali says, who shall say to the constant, he is joyful, when the next breath he shall be spent sighing? Just tripping. What is the life of such a man? And I add, oh, one man, but the phantom of a dream. In the morning, he rises happy. At noon, listen to this. This is my demonstration here. I want y'all to paint the picture. This is the inconstant person, and they will affect you if you keep them around you or you allow them to affect you. People working on themselves, they all right to have around. But people that don't know themselves, it's a problem. They say, what is the life of such a man but the phantom of a dream? Everything is an illusion to him. In the morning he rises happy. Hey! At noon he is on his rack, tired as ever, down in the dumps. This hour he is a god, the next he is below a worm. And this is what we see on social media. I'm a Moorish American. That's a God man, God woman degree. Next thing you know, they done cuss everybody out that don't agree with them. Brother Ta'aga Bay is an agent, a homo, all sorts of stuff. They gonna give you all that, you know what I'm saying? But they call themselves Moorish American. I'm trying to tell you, they gonna give you everything. They gonna cuss you out, cuss your mother out. One minute you a God, the next you are below a worm. That's the inconstant. One moment he laugheth, the next he weepeth. He now willeth. Come on, let's do this. This is how a bunch of people join the temple. They don't have no consistency. They're inconstant. One minute they willeth. Come on, let's build this nation. Next minute they willeth not. Man, I don't know, man. You know, all these groups of Moors need to come together. That's the old distraction right there. I'm talking about you and I build this thing. You ready? Let's build this thing. Man, I don't know. They come into the virtual temple and they see COVID that made people or inspired people to fall off and do other things. And they say, well, man, I get there. Man, you know, I see 10, 15 people. Then I see sometimes 3 people. They do all that. This is the inconstant. One minute they willeth, the next minute they willeth not, right? And then they don't realize that Jesus is being talked about 2,000 years ago. And he only started with 12 people. Talk to him, Tracy Page, yeah. He only started with 12 people. They still talk about him 2,000 years later. We got to start somewhere. They don't see Big Brother Akhenaten out there on the highways and byways out there doing this thing. They don't see all the people saying, what I need to do, Grand Sheik, I'm ready to join. I just ain't blow the trumpet yet. They don't see all that. But they don't realize that Jesus started with that 12. And we talking about him 2,000 years later. Ain't that something? And let me tell you something. He ain't had no internet. His world consisted of Palestine until he traveled to India, Africa, and Europe, but he ain't traveled over here to the Americas. Not that we know of. That somebody want to make that up next on social media. But as of now, we don't know about that. We know about India, Africa, and Europe. And that was his world. But today, he's known at every corner of the planet. 12 people. Think about it. Think about it. On every corner of the planet. 12 people. Come on, man. Let hope be your forever beacon light. Let hope be your forever beacon light. Prophet Noble Dryly is serious, family. All right, he says, I'm gonna wrap it like this because I'm a little past my time, but I got to do this. We talked about those who are inconstant, but let me run through the constant person. It says, 24. But what exalted form is this? It's asking you, or in other words, it's telling you what to look for in a friend. You may not like it because you might not be used to it, but it asks you, but what exalted form is this? That hitherwards directs its even. That hitherwards directs its even, its uninterrupted course. Remember what I said in the beginning, that the inconstant is one who's not to keep the predetermined destination. But what exalted form is this? That hitherward direct is even, its uninterrupted course. We focus. We focus. We going this way and nothing is going to stop me. I'm not going to get tired. I'm not going to worry about this. I'm not going to worry about that. This is the mind state that is going to take to build a nation. It takes an exalted form that's going on an uninterrupted course, whose feet is on earth, but his head is above the clouds. Not in the clouds, but above the clouds. Anybody fly on a plane and fly above the clouds? When you fly above the clouds, all that below you, you probably can't even see. It don't affect you. However, your feet is on earth, you can feel everything that's going on. And you got to have empathy, feeling, to address this journey. And your head above the cloud is symbolic too, is that you are exalted in the mind. But the little frugal and nonsense things below the clouds don't bother you. You got to exalt yourself. We be looking for some spook god to exalt us. What we just went through today in this chapter is about exalting yourself from weakness. Weakness of the mind. But what exalted form is this? Whose feet is on earth, whose head is above the cloud. On his brow sit his majesty. Steadiness in this port. We going this way. Anybody ever see a boat, a ship, try to go in the port? They got to be steady or they're going to tear it up. Wherever you going, you got to be steady. You got to be focused. Because if you don't, you're going to tear something up. Anybody ever see them cruise ships go into port? You got to be steady. Some of it is so dangerous that they say you got to get on the dinghy. You got to get on a little boat because we can't take this into port. Too shallow. But it say this exalted mind, steadiness in this port. And on his heart reigneth tranquility. He's peaceful. Guiding this thing into port. Remember, when you guide something into port, there's going to be things that could be destroyed. However, You don't panic. Don't get anxiety. Steadiness in the port. And on his heart reigneth tranquility. Though obstacles appear in his way, he deigneth not to look down upon them. Why? Because his head is in the clouds. We're talking about building this Moorish Science Temple of America, if you don't know what I'm talking about. He deigneth not to look down upon them. Why? Because when you look down, you might lose your focus. He deigneth not to look down upon them. Though heaven and earth oppose his passage, he proceedeth. Heaven, earth, and hell is not above, around, below, but where? Within. Though your mind start to doubt and your mind start to change, you proceed on the predetermined course. And that course was designed by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You proceed. Though heaven and earth, your body get weak, your earth. The heaven of your mind make you say, I don't know, let me reconsider. But nah, you're moving on a predetermined course. Because the inconstant person cannot proceed on that predetermined course. They're going to change, they're going to waver, they're going to do other things that obstruct getting to the destination. So it says, the mountains sink beneath his tread. And the mountains in this sense, that means the high and the mighty, the rich, the high and the mighty sink beneath his tread. The waters of the ocean are dried up beneath the sole of his feet. The confusion that you confronted with on this journey. Remember, we steady in the port. The cares of the world, the prophet give us on our questionnaire. He calls the water the cares of the world, and the cares of the world represent confusion. He said, the waters. Come on, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The waters of the ocean are dried under the sole of his feet. The tiger throwing herself across his way in vain. Hey, get on, wait, Mare. He focused. She focused. This is something that the leaders need to read. No matter what come at this person, they are focused. You can shake your buttons. You can bounce your breasts. You can talk crazy. This person who is in exalted form, that don't mean nothing. This is Moorish science. This is Moorish science right here. The tiger throweth herself across his way in vain. The spots of the leopard glow against him unguarded. And anybody know about the leopard? The leopard is one of the most sneakiest spider, one of the most felines, if you will. Unguarded. No matter what, you see the leopard and they're about to attack, you got something. Because at the end of this, you're going to see he marches through the embattled legions. All of these people calling themselves Moorish Science Temple of America. All of these all of our brothers and sisters still referring to themselves as black and using it within a state of mind. Call yourself what you want. I would assume, they say don't assume, but I will say, call yourself what you want. But once it infects your mind, that's something else. Because I know many people go by the term of black, and they are more conscious than some people who call themselves Moorish Americans. This is a fact. This is a fact. The principle of how they govern their life, the way that they govern their families, they consider themselves black. But they govern themselves more conscious than those who call themselves Moorish Americans. But now when we're dealing with the Negro, black, and color as a principle of walking through life, that's the battle legions. A lot of Moorish Americans are still Negroes in the mind, still black in the mind, telling you don't call yourself black. He said he marches through the battle legions. With his hand, he put aside the terrors of death. Get away from here. You can roll up if you want. Get away from here. With his hand, he put aside the terrors of death. See, we are going to go to this destination, and there ain't nothing going to stop it. Nothing. Because we are moving on a predetermined course. Who determined that course? Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I mean, it's showing you, look. Who determined that course? I thought I could see. I must have put it away. I was looking at the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Prophet Noble Drew Ali determined that course. Last but not least, I'm going to run right through it now. Storms roar against his shoulders. All the hooping and hollering, getting mad don't mean nothing, but not able to shake them. The thunder bursts over his head. The hooping and hollering don't mean nothing. The lightning serves to show the glories of his countenance. These are expressions because we are universe beings, energy beings. The things that we do in our behavior, it vibrates or simulates those things in the world or those things in the universe. So lightning is an action that we do too. But it tells us that the lightning serves but to show the glories of his countenance. No matter how much you try to strike me, no matter which way you strike, I'm going to be still standing. And it's going to show the glory of my countenance. And it's going to show the glory of a real Moorish American Muslim countenance. It's going to show the glory of a God man or a God woman countenance. No matter how much the lightning strike, no matter how much they try to strike, no matter how much they hit, you still focus. They can talk about your past, they can talk about your mama, they can talk about all they want, just like they did Big Bro Jesus. But you still focus. It says, the lightning served but to show the glories of his countenance. His name is resolution, and he comes from the uttermost part of the earth. Remember, beware of ill resolution in the intent of thy actions. Its name is resolution. Of all things in this world, whenever you moving on anything, you should think of the resolve. What's the end game? Why are you doing this? Why am I in the Moorish Science Temple of America? If I'm in it for ego, I'm in it for the wrong reason. If I'm in it for a friend, I'm in it for the wrong reason. If I'm in it for a family, I'm in it for the wrong reason. Its name is resolution. Why am I in the Moorish Science Temple of America? Because it not only saved my life, I see that it has the power to save many lives. And unfortunately, the saving power of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not as potent by those who are not demonstrating this as the prophet laid it out and not demonstrating the structure that the movement's supposed to have. So now the saving power is there, but it's just not as potent as it would be if we do it like Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Because this changed lives on all levels. So it said his name is resolution. He comes from the uttermost part of the earth. What is the uttermost part of the earth? Where's the nearest place to meet Allah? In the heart. We're not talking about the physical heart. We're talking about the heart of the mind. From the uttermost part of the earth. He seeth happiness from afar off before him. He discovereth her temple beyond the limits of the pole. He discovereth her temple. We know temple represents the house of peace. Beyond the limits of the pole. Beyond the limits of North Pole, South Pole. It's expansive. It's infinity. An infinite, finite mind cannot comprehend things infinite. This is an infinite. He discovered beyond the limits of this earthly life. He walketh up to it. He enters boldly. And for the sisters, when you see the he, that only means that you need to exact your masculine principle. Stick your chest out and walk into this walk boldly. That's a masculine thing. Has nothing to do with a sexual nature. Has to do with energy. The positive, the negative. There is no evil. That's an illusion. So you exact your positive energy. Not your emotional energy. Your masculine energy. We both got it. Masculine and feminine energy. We wouldn't be on this earth if we didn't. But you have to know how to exact the masculine. When you are focused for a predetermined destination, you're masculine. I'm not talking about sewing something between your legs and cutting your breasts off. That ain't what we're talking about. We're talking about energy here. And on the journey, you might have to exact the feminine energy. That means be the caretaker of yourself on the journey. Sustain yourself. Sustain your peace. Because the feminine is about when that child is in the womb, it's sustaining the child. Protecting. That's the feminine energy, if I can put that out there. And my last line, he walketh up to it, he entered boldly, and he remaineth forever. In other words, when you find true peace, and when you find true resolution, it's forever. If you go in and out of peace, that means you got some work to do, as we all do. But at some point, when we are focused, we are supposed to get in a place of peace and balance and be there forever. And this is what we're doing with the Moorish Science Temple of America, affectionately known as the Noble Temples. We're going to walk this walk. We're going to establish the Moorish Science Temple from the blueprint given to us by the Prophet. And as information comes out and we have to make adjustments, we're going to do that. And as it become established and our people come back home, we're going to remain there forever. Ever, ever? Ever, ever. Establish thy heart, O man, on that which is right. And know, and then know, the greatest of human is to be immutable, unchanging in that which is right. Everybody is not going to understand how you're moving. Everybody is not going to agree with how you're moving. But our Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, the greatest of human is to be immutable, unchanged. He said, I'm going to read it for you one more time because I ain't going to mess it up. He says, establish thy heart, O man, on that which is right. Do not change from that which is right. Set yourself up on a predetermined course. Stick to the course. Make sure it's established on which is right. If you get a better understanding or a clearer understanding and you can establish yourself on which is right that's unfolded, stick with it. Be immutable, unchanging. And stick your hand in God's unchanging hand. Because he helped Daniel out the lion's den. He helped Gilligan On the island. Y'all remember that? But happy holy day, family. That was from Coming to America. I had to say it. But I appreciate you, family. I went a little long because this chapter is very serious. When you see people doing weird stuff, changing the lessons, changing the formula, changing the doctrine, changing the procedures, changing the structure, you know that they are inconstant. Because one that's inconstant, they always changing for that which is not right. And that which is not right will forever change. As prime example, you will see at one point it's the Supreme Grand Advisor and Moderator. At one point it's the Supreme Grand Advisor, the Supreme Grand Sheik and Moderator. What is it going to be next? I don't want to browbeat anybody, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is clear. The head of the Moorish Science Temple of America is the Grand Sheik and Chairman. That's on a divine document. If people are not willing to get that right first, there's no way in the world that they got a plan to get anything else right. I yield the floor to our Sheik, Marzouk Razin El. Please forgive me, I went long, but I really wanted to get that lesson out. I won't be as long next week. Islam, peace and love, man.